I've got to change my leg position.
Actually, it'll be more convenient for me because I was trying to.
Ah.
How old were you when you first saw The Godfather?
I mean, I think 9 or 10.
9 or 10?
Yeah, and we saw it on that wall.
On that wall?
Yeah, because
do you
my
remember,
mom.
do you remember watching it the first time? Do you have a memory of it?
Yeah, yeah.
The first time ever?
Yeah. I don't, I mean, I didn't understand it completely. I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But, there were bits of it I remember that were very violent. It was like, oh, like that. But my mom had a projector and she'd get prints from the theatres. Because they knew all the theatre owners and exhibitors, so they used to get prints from the theatres. And I remember like everyone here with couches and stuff, and we'd watch movies projected on the wall. And I remember seeing Godfather. I remember because this was late 70s, I think, or 80, 1980 or whatever, and everyone discussing it. And I knew that it was like this amazing movie, you know, that everyone just loved and talked about.
Were a lot of people seeing it for the first time at that point, or were people
they had seen it?
Yeah, they'd seen it.
They'd seen it. It released in 72, the year I was born.
Yeah.
So, So, I mean, they had definitely seen it. I mean, then my parents had traveled and seen it. But I remember them talking about it and talking about the cinematography and talking about the writing and talking about, you know, just the drama. And I just remember, and I didn't understand it. Yeah. But subsequently, I've seen 1 and 2 at least a minimum of 25 times. Minimum. I mean, if it comes on today, I'll watch it again.
When you were watching it, were you left alone to watch it, or was anyone telling you anything about the film? Like,
as a kid?
As a kid.
No, I wasn't left alone to watch it.
No, was anyone trying to explain
I watched it with parental guidance.
With parental guidance?
I mean, kind of, you know, like, I mean, I just come and hang and watch, but it wasn't like you weren't being talked through it. You were definitely having your eyes shut in the violent scenes, but that's about it.
Okay. So, obviously you've seen it a lot of times after.
Yeah.
As a viewer, not as a filmmaker, what is your Godfather? What are your corners? What are your details of the film that are special to you, and what are the broad strokes that are special to you? I mean, the film plays out on so many levels for different people, right?
I mean, it's just the best film about a family I've seen. Like, I haven't seen a drama, like a family drama, played out better. Like, it just gets me each time. You completely understand it. And I mean, the whole Italian culture is pretty close to, I mean, in the Mediterranean culture is pretty close to Indians. Yeah. So you kind of understand the loyalty aspect of it, you know, and the sticking together aspect of it. And if you don't have your family, then you're not a man, you know, like you understand that. And the way it's done, it's not, I mean, considering it was made in 72, the drama and the way it was dramatized, I mean, they dramatized things that hadn't been done before, like light, you know, the lighting with the D.P. Gordon Willis, you know, it was, I mean, Marlon Brando in the first shot is, you know, shot with light on his face. It just changed things.
Apparently all the studio people were crying when they saw they couldn't believe there was no light in the film.
But it was just stunning. It just changed. I mean, so it was designed very differently. And I mean, you had come from gangster films with James Cagney and, you know, like the older flicks about prohibition and stuff. And this was a complete sea change from that.
It was a highly emotionally charged film.
Completely.
You know, it always interests me because as a young girl, you're not supposed to like films. Like, you're not supposed to like films like this. You're supposed to like a very different genre of films. Like, even if you remember You've Got Mail, you know, if you remember Nora Ephron's screen.
See, I can't bear that.
Yeah, but you know, she does that whole thing, right? That Tom
Hanks...
Actually,
You've Got Mail has Tom Hanks saying that...
Yeah, that the men go... like
everything you want to know is in Godfather.
Is in Godfather. And she says everything you want to know is in Pride and Prejudice.
Right.
So they've done that very classic divide of men like the Godfather.
Right. But I love Pride and Prejudice as well.
As well, right? So I was wondering, is this a genre that you liked growing up? Or... Okay.
No, I love gangster movies.
You love gangster movies on the whole?
I love gangster movies. I really like gangster movies, like Godfather 1 and 2, like Scarface. I think it's genius. Yeah. It's absolute genius. I love it. I love Goodfellas. I love Martin Scorsese. So I love a lot of his films.
You have to love if
Casino, Goodfellas, Mean Streets. I mean, I love movies. So, and I love this genre, and particularly when it's not tipped Like if it's not overtly violent or, I mean, Godfather was just understated and it was violent, but it was so subtle. And it was almost operatic, its violence, you know, the horse in the bed and Sonny Corleone being shot dead at the, you know, at the petrol station. The way it was done, it was just stunning.
But for me, I started to like The Godfather before I took to gangster films. You know, in the sense that I saw Scarface because I was in love with Al Pacino. Then it was much later that I started liking the genre. But for me, Godfather was never a gangster film.
It's a family movie.
Yeah, it was just as emotional as a movie could get. You touched upon this earlier, but what, as a filmmaker, as a student of cinema, what is your, I mean, tomes have been written on what is good about The Godfather. What is it that awes you the most? As a student of cinema?
I think the whole, I like drama. I like the genre of drama. I mean, I find it, and Godfather is funny and touching, and it's got a lot of family values, and at the same time it's about things you're not supposed to do in civil society. You know, it's got all these paradoxes, and it's how it is. You know, I mean, the backdrop happens to be the mafia, but even within that they have their own parameters. I mean, Don Vito gets shot because he doesn't want to join the drug trade, which is coming up now in like the 40s, like late 40s. But I mean, it's a family movie. It's a family story.
What are your what kind of movies did you grow up on when you were?
I grew up on all kinds of movies. My mother was in the Film Institute while we were in school, so we ended up watching everything. We spent some holidays at the Pune FTI with her, and I watched a lot of musicals. I watched a lot of foreign cinema. I watched all the Hindi films. So we watched every kind of movie, American blockbuster. We saw everything. We saw everything unless it was rated A because of pornography or nudity. But we saw everything.
What did you like watching the most?
You know, as a kid, you watch everything. You're not very. Only when you get into your teens, you start getting discerning.
Not pre-teens or teens.
I don't like this and I don't like that. But you like everything. I could watch anything as a kid. But I like musicals a lot, a lot. Wizard of Oz is one of my favorites.
You know, this is a tricky question, but is it growing up in a family where films was a part of the profession, you know, where films was talked about, you know, it was literally the work that your parents did. What was it like? Was it more personal watching cinema? Because
no. I mean, a kid,
because you know there is an awareness. Okay, not as a real kid, but you know when you start to discern these things, was there an awareness that this is a you know, it's not so removed, and this is what your parents do. This is it's just one step removed from, you know. So was it in any way a more intimate experience?
No, intimate in the sense you are you're privy to the workings of it.
Yeah.
You're privy to in terms of like script discussions, casting discussions.
Yeah.
Oh, this director's bad because he shoots like this, or you know, you don't use the zoom in a place like this is bad. You know, those kind of things come up, and you know, you're part of all that, and that's interesting. But at the end of the day, we are movie buffs. I walk into a cinema and I'm an audience.
Yeah.
I want to watch a film. I love the films.
Yeah.
I love the movies. So I want to be entertained. I'm not interested in, you know, in writing a thesis.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, I'm there and I want to be sold. You know, like, and weirdly you start, you get out if the film's bad in your head, and you're like, oh, and you know, you start thinking of other things. Or then, if the film's good, you won't only really break it down later.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're a part of another process. You're part of being entertained.
Do you get very affected by movies? Like what I'm asking is, we all do. What I'm asking is, can it have like an effect on your mood and you know? Yeah, definitely. And like I wouldn't watch certain kind of movies in the day, because I know that I can be very depressed throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to shake that off very easily. Are you that kind of a watcher, or
No, I mean, I don't go hysterical, but there are certain films that have really affected me, you know, where like you end up, it becomes bigger than just a film. You know, it becomes you cry for humanity, you know, like I like.
Or just your mood. I mean,
Cry
it's
in
just
the dark
something to, because you get sucked into a world, so it just does something maybe, you know, smaller to your mood. It may not be a
No, I
cathartic.
just, those things I can flip. It's like things that really get, like Monster, like they can be random films. Or Dancer in the Dark,
Yeah.
Lars von Trier. It really, it took me a bit of time.
Yeah.
Like I was really depressed. You know, Monster, I was really depressed. But if I see a film like Terms of Endearment in which I can cry and I'm sad and I'm depressed, I'll bounce in 15. I'll bounce. It's not, it doesn't affect me like that. You know, these other films that like, which are real stories or, you know, stories that tell you something about humanity.
Yeah.
Those get me.
Okay. Are there any other ways besides the, you know, obviously as a craft person, or what are the other ways, small influences that you can remember of cinema, something that made you want to visit or eat or wear, or it can be anything. It can be, got you into, I mean, can you remember watching a film and saying, being affected by
There's
it?
so many,
Give me an example.
There's just so many. I mean, Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing, I was in love with him. There's just so many, you know, I mean, like, because I watched so many musicals, it extended into various, I mean, it went into watching then The Wall, you know, Alan Parker's movies, The Commitments with the Walls, which kind of influenced the music I listened to. I mean, there's just too many influences that came out of film.
Yeah.
Too many, Too many. Following writers, following cinematographers I liked, following directors' work I liked. It's just too many. Beginning to read scripts, you know. Like, it's been a huge part of my life.
Do you want to visit a place?
Make me want to visit a place. I don't know if consciously, you know. Because, I mean, we've been traveling since we were kids. So, you know, it wasn't like I'm going to grow up and I'm going to go to this place because I've seen it in the movies.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, I remember going to France a lot of times as a kid. And I remember the time when I got sucked into French cinema. I wanted to go to Paris because I felt like I had never seen it. You know, I mean, there was that much of an influence of.
No, I don't. No.
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 Nothing that you can remember.
No, I'm sure subconsciously and subliminally, but nothing I can remember because I've always traveled.
Yeah.
I love traveling.
Yeah.
So I don't. No, nothing that comes to mind.
So actually, that's what I was asking about. That there's always that. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if it's rebellion why I didn't end up doing law. I don't know why I studied law. I not only did it in undergrad, I did postgrad. I went to Oxford. I did all of that, and then I said I'm not going to do law. You know, my parents do it.
See, film is it's a very consuming business.
Yeah.
So you know, I feel everyone that works in movies slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
You're not of the norm.
Yeah.
You're not of the routine. You know, we work when we're shooting. We have an official work hour, like a 12-hour work day.
Yeah.
So you can take your time out. So you can be at home for 2 months doing nothing. You know, or you leave town and you're gone for 3 or 4 months. I mean, we don't have a routine.
Yeah.
It's warped.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're shooting all night, so you're sleeping through the day.
Yeah.
It's pretty funky.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very consuming business.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Luck by Chance. The first question I'm going to ask you is, do you remember any surprises from the journey?
Yeah, I was surprised at how diplomatic I am when I started shooting. I've been a first AD, and there's no chance of diplomacy. You're just bad cop.
Yeah.
And I was a bit worried about that, and suddenly I was the director, and it was all about just getting my movie made. Yeah. So you were just, it just kicks in, yeah. You know, your head just changes. It was surprising.
You become a more people's boss. Half your job as a director is handling people.
Yeah.
So, what is the one thing that you're personally proud of? It could be. It doesn't have to be something that shows on screen. Besides the fact that
I
you
made the
handle
film I
people.
really wanted to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. However long it took.
Where did you learn?
Where did I learn?
What did you learn from the journey?
That you just got to hang in there. You can't tell people can't tell you what kind of movies to make. You just got to do what comes to you. That's it.
Well, what were your misgivings when you were making that film? Did you have any misgivings? Did you have any? None?
When you're making your first film, you're so excited, yeah. I mean, if you have time to be upset or about anything than sad.
You know, I love the film, I have to say that. But it's always been very interesting to me that, and an act of great irony and great affection from where I see it, that you, as an insider, you make a film about an outsider in the industry. You make a satire, an affectionate satire on the industry, using a lot of people from the industry. I'm simply going to ask you, why?
Because maybe I've always been a bit of a fish out of water here. From the time I liked films, they were not necessarily mainstream Indian commercial films. I worked with independent filmmakers. All my friends are in film and are artists, and they're not industry kids. I do have industry kids that are my friends, of course, but my clique, people I work with. I was in NYU, was totally different. I mean, I was never, you know, I was not one of those kids, you go out and they're telling you the box office business of the release and this has made, it's another headspace, you know, they are like, they have like industry, like poof, poof, poof on their heads, you know, there's a breed of them, you know what I mean, and I don't think Farhan and me ever were part of that, you know, we were exposed to a lot of other things, for good or bad, you know, and so I have always been one leg here, one leg there, you know, and it's funny because for the film space I've been a bit arty, and for my artist friends I'm filmy, so you're always somewhere stuck in the middle, and we allow people to define success for us as individuals, you know, we don't, like to me the fact that I made a film is a success. You know, when you hear a music album and it's a new artist and you're like, I don't like their music, but they got an album out there. They did it. That's the first level of you're successful. You've done, I mean, everyone I know wants to do something, and there are only that many that do it. Now, after that, what happens is a separate story. And I find things like that very interesting, and they're just not addressed. They don't care for talent. They only care if you make money, you know, and that's just like, and in a creative industry, that's death. It's death. And I think Luck by Chance came from a lot of that. And it came from the fact that I also, on some weird level, understand it. I understand where a producer like Romy Roli, I mean, he's not interested here. Like, you know what I mean? He's out there, he's this happy Punjabi man, putting all his money in. And he wants the film to do well. Now, if the actors can't act, I mean, who cares? People want to watch her. So I even understand that. So I think it came from that space, and I didn't want to judge anything. I just wanted to say, this is what it is. And you go home with how you feel about it. And weirdly, a lot of people didn't understand it, so because next time you have to tell them, this is not good.
Because they didn't know what side you were on and what you were saying.
No, I don't think, like people don't play with irony, and you know, thematically, people don't play with that stuff here, so
there's not space for little things also. Did you study film in NYU or did you not?
Yeah, I did a thing, but I did a diploma. I didn't do a degree.
Okay. Where would you, if you had to picture yourself on a map, personally you, as a person, not just as a filmmaker, how would you describe the place you're in?
I'm sorry, I'm a bit lost in this question. I'm not understanding if you want to tell me geographically or where I want to be, or...
No, I'm saying in your life, in terms of life as you know it. Basically, if you had to locate yourself in a map, you know, from where you've come, where you want to go, whatever, say, I'm here, right? Like you have those maps saying, this is where I am right now. How would you describe where you are in life?
How would I describe it? I'm actually at a place where I can go anywhere. All doors open, you know. I mean, I can go anywhere I want to go. It's like a springboard. Or I can just keep bouncing if I choose to stay. Literally, I can go anywhere. I don't feel stuck.
Is that a great feeling or is that a slightly scary feeling?
No, it's a great feeling.
It's a uniformly great feeling.
It's a great feeling because you can go anywhere you want to go. I mean, I'm not tied to anything.
How do you assess your pluses as a filmmaker? It could be, it could be. Actually, I'm asking more as a writer than a director. What is it? I mean, is it your distance? Is it the way you read life?
I mean, everyone's got. I'm not afraid to be honest in that way. I think if you're not, if you don't put yourself in there, your work cannot be different. You cannot copy somebody else and be different. You can only be different if you're you.
Yeah.
The only thing different in this space is you.
Yeah.
So you have to put yourself in there. Yeah. And I'm okay to do that. I don't know if that's going to make for an interesting story or not. I mean, I do my best in doing that. And I have a healthy mix of independent and art with wanting to entertain. I have a healthy mix of that.
Do you want to make films all your life? Have you thought about that?
Who knows?
Yeah, but what do you want right now? I mean, in this moment.
All my life is damn long. I don't know. I mean, right now, yeah. For now, yes.
No, but see, some people have it distinctly worked out. Like, I know for a fact that at some point in my life, I want to, like, stop working and do this. And then at some point, I want, But I'm saying, is that how you picture your life? Or is it really, this is it and
I've learned not to make too many plans.
But you can't have learned not to have too many desires. That's not possible.
No, desires, yeah. Like, I mean, yeah.
Is there other stuff you want to do? Like,
of course, I want to travel. I want to at some point maybe have a baby. But none of those things make me think that.
Yeah. So, okay. So, work-wise, this is what,
I want to see the world.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions about your memories of movies, okay? So, a film that you remember for its use of music.
Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music.
A film that you remember for its use of sound.
Of sound? Scarface, Abyss.
Film that you remember for its images.
So many.
First thing that comes to you.
Godfather, because we've been talking about it so much.
Film that you remember for its mood.
Godfather.
Film that you remember for the detailing of setting up of the scene, but detailing of the scene, like details, just lots of details.
Age of Innocence, Martin Scorsese. I don't know where that came from, but yeah.
Film that you remember for a voiceover,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Film that you remember for its climax.
Scarface.
Film that you remember for filming something that was highly unfilmable.
Filming for? Sorry?
Filming the unfilmable. Well, not technically the unfilmable, but something very difficult to film.
I think Last Tango in Paris. I saw it when I was very young. It's like on my head. Yeah.
Okay. A film that you remember for pure storytelling.
Godfather. Am I going to be so boring? I'm just going to be saying Godfather.
No, this is me. I shouldn't have started with The Godfather. Yeah. I would also answer The Godfather for everything. Okay, a film that you remember for characterization. Don't say The Godfather. Besides The Godfather.
Annie Hall.
Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Are you a big Woody Allen fan?
Love.
Good. A film that you remember for lenses, for the use of lenses.
For the use of lenses?
Yeah, or placement of camera.
Badlands.
And camera work, cinematography?
So many. Terrence Malick, I love his stuff.
Yeah.
So Badlands, Thin Red Line, I mean, yeah. Editing, all Martin Scorsese films. Thelma Schumacher is his editor and she's a genius.
Yeah.
So all Scorsese films.
Okay, finally, experimentation. Okay, I'll explain what I mean by that. Pushing a line that was, and knowing where to draw. Like, films over-experiment or under-experiment or whatever. It's just something that you were like, I mean, an obvious thing would be jump cuts in Breathless, but I'm saying something like that you saw and that meant a lot to you. Not that it was.
I think Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
actually,
Pulp Fiction. I think the whole fractured screenplay.
Yeah.
I think the way it was structure. He changed structure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's got great characters and that's got style, and that film. There are films that were before Pulp Fiction and after Pulp Fiction. It's like monumental.
Finally, you've just finished your second film. When are you planning to release?
July 15th.
Oh, that's soon. So tell me a little bit about it. What?
It's a road trip. It's about three young men, all professional working men, who were supposed to take this trip
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Okay.
But for whatever reasons didn't. And one of them's getting married, and he's like, let's go. So they go to Spain, and turns out to be a very cathartic experience for all three of them.
And they're all three are men.
They're three boys, 3 men.
You said it's out in July 15th, right? Has it been a very different experience from Luck by Chance?
Yeah, completely. But a lot of fun. Luck by Chance was very, because it was in Bombay, it was a very interior film. I mean, it was all studios and apartments, and I mean, in Bombay, where do you go out?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no concept of outside and outdoors, and you don't have an outdoor life in this city. So the film effectively worked on that, and I was just like, now I want to do something. I want to be out, and I want to do something completely different and exterior, and so it was a very different experience. That whole film's in Bombay. This whole film was in Spain. So it was a very different working experience. 80% of my crew was Spanish, which was great fun, and I enjoyed myself.
Okay, thank you.